This meeting to order. We have the prayer and the pledge by Councilwoman Sherry Gidges.
Almighty God, our Father, we praise and thank you for today. Lord, you've given us another opportunity to appreciate life and to fulfill our mission or assignment as your instruments of peace and progress for the city of New Iberia. Father, bless today's meeting. Bless all our endeavors, plans, programs, and projects so that we may achieve our objectives for your greater glory. Guide us in our discussion. Provide your wisdom and knowledge in every decision that we make on today. Give us your grace that we may effectively do our parts as public servants. Lord, I'm so glad to be walking above ground and above the land of the living one more time. Oh God, continue to set a fire of progress and continued planted seeds of progress for this new administration and all department heads. Father of the living God, help us all as a city to never, ever, ever give up and sing a new song of hope, dream a new dream that reflects unity, blessings, equality, family, and the legacy of freedom. For the great city of New Iberia, we ask all these things in the precious and mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle,
Here.
Councilmember Natalie Lopez,
Present.
Councilmember Marlon Lewis,
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard,
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter,
Here.
Councilmember Sherry Guidry,
present.
Councilmember Dustin Swear.
Here. Thank you. Our first item, number one, is public comment. I'll just remind you, you have 3 minutes. There's no back and forth. Please silence your cell phones. And let's begin our public comment.
Marty Harrell, District 1, to discuss support for revision of annual confinement in the animal on domestic animal attack laws. I couldn't read her hand. It doesn't matter. I couldn't read her hand.
Greetings, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. I'm Marty Harrell, and this is Miss Jenny Lynn. She's a 12-pound Jack Russell Terrier, Rat Terrier mix. She was adopted from Animal Rescue Foundation of Louisiana. We, along with my hubby and 3 more rescued fur babies, live at 497 Texaco Street in Acadian Acres in District 1. Thank you for the opportunity today to support any revision of our animal confinement and domestic animal attack laws with stricter enforcement and fines. Germane to this issue is a bit of personal background. In mid-November of 2015, I was admitted to IMC in congestive heart failure, diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, and literally was unable to walk more than about 40 steps without sitting down. I was morbid obese, and frankly, I was closer to death than I care to admit. However, fast forward today, just 21 months later. In regaining my health, I've lost over 120 pounds by walking over 5.35 million steps, equivalent to 2,011 miles, or 2.3 times across the state of Texas, along I-10, which one trip would take 14 and a half hours to drive. Miss Jenny Lynn has been my constant companion, my faithful and eager workout and training partner, and she's always attached to my waist on a short lead. Of those over 5 million steps, Miss Jenny and I have walked 90% of them within the city of New Iberia, including our own Acadian Acres neighborhood, downtown New Iberia, and City Park, and the surrounding neighborhoods. We have participated in downtown art walks, we visited the galleries, We've enjoyed the Chamber's Very Berry Christmas Quest, stopping at pet-friendly places, and stood quietly along street side for both the Sugarcane Festival and St. Patrick's Day Parade, all without incident. However, our lives changed 2 weeks ago this evening. While out on a walk, less than 4 blocks from our home, Miss Jenny Lynn and I were surprise attacked in the middle of a city street, nowhere near any private property, by an unconfined Rottweiler, easily weighing 7 times her weight. She was grabbed by the neck and shoulder, shaken violently 3 times while still attached by harness and leash to my waist, while I attempted to release a pepper spray from my fanny pack. As once I was armed with the spray, the attacking animal took 2 shots to the face without effect. A full canister later, 20 shots, the Roddy released Jenny. I grabbed her up and ran to an awaiting Good Samaritan's truck who whisked us away. After a quick assessment of Jenny's injury, we returned to the scene to call 911 and take the necessary actions to file reports with the IPSO. The deputy arrived, animal control officer followed, and statements were made. I was advised that the dog would be quarantined for 10 days for observation and that the owner, who was identified, would be appropriately charged and held responsible for the injuries, etc. At that point, I did not realize that I had in fact been injured in the attack and didn't discover my bruising and cuts until the next morning. I was so high on adrenaline. This is my baby. I wasn't concerned, but because I thought the dog was being observed, but I found out subsequently that the law required it being released, or that was what I was told, when the attack was not animal on person. I further learned that the same dog was once again unconfined and running loose in our neighborhood the very next morning. Miss Jenny and I were lucky. We were lucky that the dog attack injuries were, while very painful for my pet, not life-threatening. We were lucky that I carried pepper spray to deter the attacking dog. We were lucky that the dog went for Jenny first, and not for me, leaving me to be able to defend us both. And we were lucky that for this walk, it was just Jenny on lead, because I often walk 3 of my 4 dogs on a tandem lead. We were lucky that we didn't have a small child with us. I could go on, but in short, we were just plain lucky this time. However, I believe, in the citizens here in the audience, that our animal confinement and animal attack laws do not have enough teeth in them, pun intended, to protect a law-abiding citizen and a licensed pet from animal-on-animal attack with stricter enforcement and fines. As the old adage goes, if you don't have pictures, it didn't happen. Please take a moment to flip through this booklet of photos of both of our lifestyle and the post-injury attack. Thank you so much for this time and for your service to our city. Jenny Lynn and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much. And I like to follow the rules, so I gave 3 minutes to her and 3 minutes to the dog. Next comment card.
Alan Batto, District 4, to comment on drainage.
Sorry, that's District 3. My mistake.
No problem.
My name's Alan Batto. I've lived in Iberia all my life, and I lived on Iberia Street about 28 years or so. And the last 3 or 4 administrations, we've been trying to get some assistance concerning drainage in that area. Not just for myself, but for the whole neighborhood. One past mayor and Mayor Pro Tem visited my home during the flooding condition when I called them, and they were turned back by deep water. They were in a pickup truck. It was getting into the truck. And so they called me, said they were coming back. So they went to the city barn, got a diesel truck, dump truck, and he came back. And that's the only way they could get to my house. So at that time, I was informed that the problem is not Iberia Street. It's a cupboard on the Amador somewhere that's collapsed, and it's causing a bottleneck. The water can't get out. So I was told Mr. Wilson with DOTT was going to be here, and he's the one I was going to ask a question to. Has the city informed the state about that problem? If so, since Amador is a state highway, what are the plans to rectify the problem? Myself, my neighbors need relief, and their help is needed, because flooding and extremely high FEMA flood insurance is just making it unreasonable to stay in this town. And I have pictures on my phone. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to go have them developed. If I could, I'd like to show y'all, come to this thing and show you the pictures.
Any objection to that? Okay.
When I was working, I'm retired now. If it was like this, I couldn't go to work.
I've seen them all in person through my
Sit down, we just pass
constituents.
your phone around, and I'll give it back to you. Give you kind of a quick way to do it.
I've seen them in person during the rain time.
If you go further down, that's one of my front porch where the step is. And it's right to the top of the step, which is about an inch from my house, getting in the house.
Good. I appreciate it. We will, DOTD's here, and we'll stay on.
I just don't know if it was ever brought to their attention or
It is
what?
now, so that's something we'll look into. Thank you.
I mean,
Appreciate your comments.
it's, when it rains like that, I have to take my truck out and park it on the other side of Amador and walk back home.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all a lot.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Joe LeBlanc, to comment on drainage,
District 1.
District 1. Thank
I
you.
forgot to put it down there.
That's okay.
I've been fighting this problem since last administration. And it kind of feel like I'm getting some help now, but I want all of y'all to know about it. I have bought the building on the corner of Jane and Chestnut. It's the old Joe Bennett Body Shop. Since that, I could literally cut the grass on the road because of the amount of dirt and water that accumulates on that corner. And I talk to people and they give me names from this, call people at the state, Ken Lizard. But I always defend, why do I have to call Ken? I pay city taxes. Why shouldn't the city government do that for us? Instead of, putting us through all of this. We don't know all these people. But we definitely need some help on the drainage on that end. And I do have pictures, but I was like, and I'm not gonna hold up y'all meeting, I can show them to y'all after. I didn't have them developed. But a lot of you seen them. And all I'm asking, okay, I don't know the state highway rules against the cities. But I'm sure if you look at it, you wouldn't want that in the front of your house. I'm trying to get this building up where I can either rent it or sell it to make New Iberia grow. Please help me. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for your investment. Thanks for coming. All of our comment cards. That'll end public comment. Agenda item number 2.
Acceptance of the minutes of the July 18th, 2017 meeting as published on July 31st, 2017.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Council Member Sherry Guidry. Do I have a second? Second by Council Member Dustin Sweer. Is there any discussion from the minutes? Hearing no discussion, vote your machines. Great, thank y'all. Madam Clerk, item number 3.
Introduction of Kevin Zarang, City Treasurer, and ratification by council.
Great. Kevin, want to come up? I think you all have his resume in your packet. This is the person that I have selected as the city treasurer. So like we did in January when our department heads came in, is there any discussion? And then after that, we'll vote to see if you will allow me to hire Kevin. So is there any discussion or question? Yes.
I would just like to comment because I know Kevin. He lives in District 1, which I'm very proud of. I like to brag on my little district. Kevin is actually a transplant from here, and I met him probably around 5 years ago when he moved here. And he didn't just move here. He moved here and he got totally involved. Kevin has tried everything I think we have, like IDF meetings, on tap, Chamber of Commerce. He has networked. He has networked his way around this city, and he is definitely what I feel to be a breath of fresh air. I think he will be independent. I think he will be honest. I know he's not politically connected here, other than for this moment in this day that he, it's not a traditional old school Louisiana thing. And I think he's a great choice. I think you would all be very happy with him. And he also has a degree in culinary arts, and from what I hear, is a great chef.
That you didn't tell us.
I saw it on his resume.
And I'm gonna vote for him.
Great.
Yeah, so Kevin would be a full-time employee.
Yes.
And what do we have now? She would be here or
Fayette
Fayett's stay here? Or?
Yeah, Fayetta's going to stay on, working within the dollars we have. Fayetta's going to stay on and come a little bit every week. A few hours a week to help Kevin transition. That's something that will occur probably for a year. We're figuring, so we kind of get the best of both worlds. Fayetta's done a wonderful job for us, and she has some other clients because she's been working for us under a contract. So she has other clients under contract, but she has agreed to stay on in that role, and that way we'll not lose all at once. We'll have a good transition, and I expect that to occur for at least a year.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Any questions? Any further discussion? Well, then I'll ask y'all to entertain a motion to vote.
Motion.
One second.
All right. Motion and a second. Please vote your machines. Great. See you at work, Kevin.
Don't be late.
Don't be late.
Thank you. Thank you to the council, too. I appreciate it. Item number 4, Madam Clerk.
Persons to address the council. First, we have Suzanne Demaye.
Judge DeMai. Judge
Quite
elect.
yet. When I first asked to come to speak to the council, it was to announce my candidacy for judge. Most of you might be aware from reading the paper that we actually didn't have to have an election. I worked really hard and I got a lot of support from different people in this community and other communities. It was a district-wide race which covers Iberia, St. Martin, and St. Barry Parish. I grew up in St. Martin Parish, and I've been living in Iberia Parish since I graduated from law school. So I had to still work on St. Mary Parish, but it was really hard. We spent a lot of work this last year on the campaign, and a lot of people only got to see the last couple of months. Literally, the day my dad retired, and then 2 months later. So I really appreciate the support I received from the community. It was an honor to see the lawyers in the community actually had the confidence in me. I know a lot of people don't think about this, but the confidence in me to decide that they weren't going to run, that they felt that they were confident enough in my ability to allow me to be in this position. But I also needed the support of many community members and other elected officials, some guidance to kind of show me the ropes. I got a lot of guidance from different elected officials on how to get to know the community and how to do a campaign the right way. I feel that because I got some of that guidance, I was able to do it the right way and get to learn about the community and learn things about the community. One thing I do ask is I will need the continued support of everyone. One of the things people told me when I was running for judge, I would go out in the community and they're like, you see people when they run in for office, but you don't see them after that until it's time to run again. So one of my goals is to continue to stay connected. If you hear anything that I need to know, pick up the phone and let me know. You get a complaint from one of your constituents about something that's happening on the bench or something that's happening in court. We don't know unless you let us know. One of my goals is to restore that confidence. Y'all have been aware of kind of the confidence in the justice system that y'all are dealing with trying to form a police department. So as a whole, I think it's our responsibility to restore that confidence in our community, in our justice system, and to show them that they can have that faith in us. But I really want to thank y'all all that helped me get here, and I appreciate it, and I just ask you for your continued support.
Thank
Any
you very
questions?
much. Thank you. It's great to see good people step up.
Thank you.
When is the election? When was it supposed to be?
October.
It was supposed to be in
A very familiar date for us. Item 4B, Madam Clerk.
Joshua Hollins with the Department of Transportation and Development.
And Mr. Winfrey.
And, they both, and Mr. William Shrewsbury.
Good evening. Thanks for coming.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Joshua Hollins, Legislative Director, Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. I bring greetings tonight on behalf of Dr. Sean Wilson, who could not be here, Secretary of the Department, who could not be here this evening. It's our pleasure to be here. We always like to get out in our communities and be able to be good partners and address issues to make sure that our state and local government are work together seamlessly, and that we can iron out any issues that we may have. The number one issue I think that we're here for tonight is to discuss as it relates to railroad safety and funds from the state level that are available. And tonight I do have with me Ms. Deidre Druyette, who is our public information officer. Y'all might see her on TV down this way. We also have Mr. Bill Shrewsbury, who is our head guy for Railroad, and also Mr. Sean Luke, who works with Railroad as well for the department. What prompted us to be here tonight by Mr. Broussard, who asked us to come and be here tonight, and we appreciate his active engagement on this issue. If the council would allow me to, I would like to give just a brief history as it relates to the funds that and where we are with funds for railroad safety here. As you know, we've probably now, before my time at the department and to now, we've probably been dealing with this about a decade as it relates to railroad safety here in New Iberia. If you remember, there's two sources of funding that was put into place as it relates to railroad safety. You had what we know as capital outlay dollars, that was through state funding. Those capital outlay dollars were there, and I think began around the year 2007, 2008. Those capital outlay dollars there, by action of the council, I think went away in around 2009 to be reallocated to another project. I think some folks here might have some history and knowledge of that. The second source of funding that you have is the federal earmark, or demo funds, as we would call them. And you had about $1.6 million in federal earmarks and demo funds. With that $1.6 million, $400,000, so that went toward a study to look at grade separation, or the underpass or overpass, as you may know it as. And so after that $400,000 was spent on that study, Congress authorized the ability for that money to not only be spent for grade separation, but also for safety upgrades at grade crossings. And so once that was done, the department obligated those funds on a number of projects, which included LA 675, Evangeline Street, Corrine Street, Anderson, Fontainebleau, Bayard, Jefferson Terrace, LaSalle, and Jefferson Street. And so those projects were meant to obligate all that $1.6 million earmark. Some of those projects came in under budget, and so that left a balance of $178,000 or $180,000, if you will. That $180,000 was left as a federal earmark, and that federal earmark, through the action of Congress, we were allowed as a department to be able to repurpose earmarks for any earmarks where there was not a project ready to go, because we were in danger of losing those funds as a state. So with that authorization, we repurposed earmarks of $180,000. That was the balance that was left over because those projects came in under budget, with the commitment that we would spend those funds here in New Iberia at the time in which a project was ready to go. But above and beyond spending that $180,000, you have a commitment from us above that out of our federal safety program to spend to the tune of $3 million on the remaining 3 projects that are in design phase for New Iberia. So not only will those $180,000 in funds come to benefit New Iberia, but to the tune of $3 million, we will complete the railroad safety out of our railroad safety money at the state. And so our commitment is unwavering. We believe we've been prudent in how we've handled the funds for New Iberia, and we're committed to safety here in this community and making sure that a railroad can be a delicate thing running through a community and through the heart of a community, but we're committed to making sure that we make safety improvements to make New Iberia safer and to make it make sure that the city of New Iberia and the state can work together as good partners. So I'll take any questions, any concerns, and we just appreciate the opportunity to be here, Mr. Mayor.
Well, let me just say we appreciate you coming, and it is a partnership, and we all realize that, and your continued commitment. This $3 million that comes in addition to the 180 is welcome news. We can finish the project. I was the pro tem when these projects were initiated and ongoing, and like you said, they came in under budget. We got to go further than you thought we would have. So I can't say nothing but good things. We, as you heard earlier tonight, we have other issues and things that we need to cooperate on, and I have all the confidence we will. So this is just a show of a good partnership. Thank you for coming. I'll open up if my council has any questions.
I want to thank Mr. Shrewsbury and Mr. Mr. Shrewsbury and Mr. Sean Wilson. Yes, I got emotional to get this $178,000 back what it should be for the people of New Iberia. But we thank y'all for keeping track of everything.
Yes, sir.
And helping us, and we don't want to be ornery, but sometimes we have to be a little bit on that side. So I want to thank y'all in the long run for doing what's right.
Yes,
and
sir.
we appreciate everything.
Our commitment is unwavering, and any time, whether it's honorary or it's whatever, we will be here, and we will be here to always explain where we are and our commitment, and our commitment's unwavering to this community. So,
thank you, Mr. Broussard, and thank you for your efforts. Councilman Swear.
I appreciate you being here tonight as well.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Do we have any projects that are construction ready that we're looking into in the future, along with this?
Yeah, what that $3 million in addition to the 180 would encompass is we have 3 projects that are in design phase right now, and those 3 projects are the raising of the BNSF tracks between French Street and Week Street to allow for upgrades to the flashing lights and gates, and so that's estimated to be about $1 million. And then we'll also be updating the flashing lights and gates between French and Weeks, which is about $2 million. And then the last one, which I'm sure we'll be back to discuss, and we've had some discussions, is under the federal, under our safety program dollars and being able to spend these dollars for upgrades, there's one more closure that should take place here in the New Iberia community. And obviously, if anybody, the folks that have history here, you know that at one time there was discussion of closing Providence Street. We've backed away from that because we try to be good partners to understand the impact as it relates to the community. one of the closures that we're looking at, the closure we're looking at right now, is at Caroline Street. And I think that we could probably come back and have robust discussion about that down the road.
I think we will. I wouldn't close it yet. I wouldn't close it yet. Why we do that one last? Why we do that one
But
last?
I want to reiterate that those projects are in the design phase and won't be happening next week, the next month, or down the road. But so I think we would have the opportunity to be able to have that discussion and talk about what worked best for the community. So
It is very
yes, sir.
important to have
Bruce,
our pot of money
Yes, sir.
that we had
Yes, sir.
set up for the overpass.
Yes, sir.
And we moved it to these arms and lights, so it's on all projects. It's nice to have your own pot of money to put up first,
Yes, sir.
and then y'all come finish the rest.
Yes, sir.
It should be, so we should see some light at the end of the tunnel,
Yes, sir.
that we should see it all with arms and lights.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think so in the near future, whatever, how many years it takes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Broussard. I don't know. Yeah, Dustin had
The money, the money that was $178,000, now there's learned tonight, there's $3 million attached to that.
Yes, sir.
This is solely dedicated for railroads. Now, Mr. Broussard brought up crosswalks and safety concerns on Highway 14. Can that money be allocated or moved or anything to do any other projects such as sidewalks or crosswalks for safety reasons? Since
That-
it is a safety concern.
As it relates to sidewalks and crosswalks, and Bill, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that would more than likely fall under our transportation alternative program, which is a different pot of funds. This, with the railroad safety, would address the upgradings at crossings and the closures and things of that nature. So you're talking about the flashing lights, the gates, the circuitry. That would be the dedication of that fund.
We'll look for another partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. We're here to talk.
That's right. Councilwoman Gidget.
On the $3 million,
Yes, ma'am.
that you were previously bringing up, that money is going to be held at a state level, or that's just placed on the side for just New Iberia, and where is that money going to be held at?
Right, it's held on the state level under our railroad safety program. So Mr. Shrewsbury, as the administrator of that program, gets a certain number of dollars per fiscal year, and our commitment is that we will finish these 3 projects. And in finishing those 3 projects, they come to a total of about $3 million, and that's how that commitment has come about. So as we move through the design phase, get ready for a construction phase, and be able to finish this, that's when you'll be able to see those dollars begin to be expended out. And so that's how we have the commitment above and beyond, because honestly, $180,000 it won't finish these projects, but you have our commitment to finish these projects. And
So on each phase that you guys are in the future, because I'd like to continue a relationship with the DOTD.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you guys be willing to continue to come to our meetings as we do new phases such as that?
Absolutely. I think one of the hallmarks of Dr. Wilson's administration so far is to increase the way we interact. I don't think we can ever interact too much with local community and making sure folks are engaged and being better partners. So whether it's myself or our public information officer, Ms. Druyette, we would love to stay in constant contact. I've had the pleasure to meet your mayor, and I had the pleasure of knowing the former mayor, but I'm glad to forge a new relationship here. And
Certainly.
Any council members, I have my card and would love to stay in contact with you all for any issue, whether it be the drainage. And Mr. Mayor, I'll address that just very quickly if you would allow me.
Sure.
We've been moving around the district, as you know, with the flooding that we've had has been tremendous, and we've been moving around the district to be able to address drainage and address grass that may be blocking drainage. I know in some areas we cut grass and wanted to be able to spray, and then it rains, and so we are working very hard. But I would encourage the gentleman, I think Mr. LeBlanc already saw Deidre, but I would encourage the first gentleman to see Deidre as well and let her know what that issue is, so we can try to get something working on that as well.
My last thing due to the drainage, since you guys are here,
Yes, ma'am.
I think I've spoken with Ms. Druyette on the phone many a time. She's very pleasant on the phone. There's a particular resident here that owns from one block to the other, from South Hopkins all the way to Ambassador LaMelle. All those rent houses he owned. an entire block, from block to block. The drainage issues, since it is Hopkins Street is a state highway, right? So he's having some terrible issues concerning that. I've went out there in the rain and walked with him, looked at each drain. Is there any way that we can get some type of, someone could come out and maybe clean those drains, check them?
Right.
I'm sure they haven't been checked in.
Right, and that's, and
So what's the protocol on that?
Miss
Speak to that real quick. So the protocol will be, I'll just get in contact with you to get the exact location.
Yes, ma'am.
As Joshua was saying earlier, we've been inundated, not just here in Iberia Parish, but all across the district. We've had a huge amount of rain this season, as you all can have seen and are seeing. We're actually supposed to have quite a bit this week as well. So as soon as we can get that location, we can put it on the list and give you an estimate time frame as to when we plan to get to that particular location. Again, as Joshua was saying, we have been spending quite a bit of time going around and trying to do as much drainage work as possible. But for us, we've had a huge amount of rain this year, so we're trying to keep up as best we can.
Okay, so as a council member, after you guys go and check that out, whenever we set that up, can I request that we find out what's the findings? You know,
Sure, absolutely. Once our crews go in
because
there
there's several drains lined
and
up.
assess the situation, then we'll definitely be able to report back to you based on what they find.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Patiently waiting, Councilwoman Lopez.
No, I guess I have like 3 things. First, Ms. Broussard, I want to tell you thank you. I know we're all very different up here, but if anybody was underestimating you, you just showed your value to this team. I think that you should be very proud of yourself. That is a lot of money. I hope I can get that much on something one day. My second thing I wanted to mention is you brought up Providence Street. And I just really hope we never go there again, because and I know that Miss Ledbetter is not gonna want Caroline closed, and I would just hope that maybe y'all can put some efforts to checking out all of the crossbars and stuff and seeing if maybe we can, go more of that safe route, because the track runs straight through the middle of the city. It's hard for us to tell people, sorry, we're just gonna cut your street off that you've been living on for 30 years. They're just traveled so frequently. And my third thing I wanted to ask the mayor is the drainage work that we're gonna be doing on Jefferson Terrace, is that gonna disrupt the track or no?
No, we're actually going under the track. We've got.
Okay, I know we had talked about it, but I wanted to touch on that, to where if we needed additional funds for that project, if it has to do with the track, if maybe that could be worked in. If we run up short.
If we run up short, we have the money for it right now, and you remember we did cut it into 2 phases.
Right.
But hey, I'll look at every option.
Okay.
And
Yes.
I did have some concerns about what you said about closing Caroline Street. When that was proposed, the same time Providence Street was, a lot of the constituents came out to talk against it. And I thought it had gone away, I thought. So what's the process in getting that really?
Well, we're following the same process that we looked at with Providence Street, and that's taking in the public input. I personally had, I think there was a petition of some of the residents that made it to my desk, and I've looked at it. I've counted how many people are on there. I've thoroughly looked at it, and we're continuing to look at it. And as I said, one of the things that is challenging for us as we spend railroad safety dollars, I mean, when you think about, there were 24 crossings in a 2-mile radius in New Iberia, which is kind of off the charts as it relates to areas of this size in a city. One of the things that we've looked at is which one would make the most sense, and so I think that's what we're going to be asking for as a council and as a city to help us find a consensus, because as we spend these safety dollars, these safety dollars do have a requirement. And so part of that requirement is that as you upgrade some of these crossings, there should be, if there's too many within a radius, a closing. And so I know that it's not popular, I know that it's geopolitical as it relates to districts and where it's going to be closed, and so I hope that we'll be spending some more time in New Iberia to try to figure out where exactly that will be and how we do that. And so we definitely don't want to make any explicit decisions without having the public input and having the input of the elected officials.
And please consider the fact that all our hospitals are on the other side of the track.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you
And
saying
I
all of
think-
those crossings,
and I think
they're
you
there
have
for a good reason, I think.
And I think you have a nursing home, I believe,
Yes,
on Caroline
right at the
Street.
corner. Yes, right down the street from there.
Exactly. And Mr. Shrewsbury has spent a lot of time with us, the secretary and I, because he knows that this is not necessarily just something that's easy for us to just go out and do. So, Mr. Mayor, council folks, we do plan to be back to have that discussion and I think it's the will of the council that we'll be back to do that. So
I think it is.
Yes, sir.
Also, the requirements that you spoke of concerning these particular projects and where you put the armed crossings and different things like that, are we going to have some type of liberty to be able to look at some of this stuff, or what are the requirements? Maybe we could survey our district and kind of help out with that process and, like you said, talk about it and get a better feel for that. Where can we find these requirements?
Well, what I would suggest, and what I'm actually going to ask that we do and have as a follow up, is that if we could come back and have a public meeting to explain exactly how the railroad safety dollars are spent and the requirements on those dollars and how that relates to the New Iberia community, so that you all can understand where we're coming from and what our requirements are, and that we can hear, based in those confines, what you all would suggest would be an adequate solution.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great. If you don't mind, being that this gentleman's here this evening and that we do have representatives from the DOTD, I would just like to ask a question based on the study that was done on 87 going into the light on Lewis Street. That study stated that the findings in the study that the speed limit did need to be dropped. My concern on that is this, when we're talking about public safety, is the traffic now that they were having, being with the new Walmart that's being developed and the people coming into the city limits from outside. We've been seeing a number of accidents, and I wanted to know what's the process or the protocol to go back and say, okay, is there something we can look at? Because I'm asking, the speed limit is 45 miles an hour, straight to that light.
Yes, sir.
And that's my concern. I want to know who I need to speak to, or who I need to address that with.
Well, our district traffic folks would probably be the most adequate folks to talk to. But what I'll do, and I'll lay another thing on her plate tonight. If you would talk to Deidre. And she's typing it now. So if Deidre,
I told you she was good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask that question while y'all were here.
Right. And if Deidre, I'm more than sure Deidre will get in contact. We'll try to get in contact with you within the next week or so to start that process, because we see that around the state all the time. You have a new development or something comes that changes the landscape of how.
I mean, I understand they did the speed study, but that doesn't really justify
the safety
the development
element
that's coming up in the area.
Right.
We have more traffic flow, so it's starting to be a problem.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you.
And it's not his department, and he's still helping.
I appreciate it.
That's another branch.
That's right.
That's awesome. Good. All right, let me try to hit this side. Mr. Bruce, I'm going to save you for last. You talked a couple times. If you don't mind. Councilman Lewis, you haven't said a word.
Yeah, well, and what's your name? I know we've been calling you Sean all night. What's
Joshua
your name?
Hollins.
Joshua Hollins.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Joshua. I kind of have a far-fetched idea that I've heard before.
Yes, sir.
But I've learned there's no dumb questions and no far-fetched ideas. In my district, there's a park, West End Park, and it is separated. The library is separated by the tracks and Washington Street. So it was brought to my attention some time back before I was on the council about doing some kind of walkway over the tracks to the library. And is that possible? Has that happened before? Kind of like a bridge from a walking bridge from the park area to the library area, because the library was once in the park, and now they separated and put it on St. Peter Street. So you really can't walk to it unless you kind of like walk through, you know, a little forest, like almost, when it's not cut.
What I will say to that is, I think that may be a conversation that we can have as it relates to our transportation alternative program.
Okay.
There may be another pot of money, because if Bill, I don't know if we can, if our railroad safety dollars wouldn't be right.
For a separate crossing.
Right, and so there may be another pot of money that we can look at doing something that may be a common sense community solution. And so if we could work together on that, and I'll leave a few of my cards as well tonight. So yes,
has that been done before? Have you seen something?
not to my knowledge, not to say that it hasn't been done, but it's definitely something we can explore. I don't like to say no, I like to say let's look at it. So yes, sir.
Mr. Joshua,
Wait,
I just want to.
Chair,
I'm sorry.
hang on, let Dan go first, and I'll get you back.
I think,
I'll give everybody a shot.
talking about the scope of work that was projected, and I think me and Mr. DeCourt was on the council at that time, and you mentioned the $3 million had the two projects. One was French and Week Street with the arms, and you mentioned the first project that it might have to be raised to be able to accept the crossing. What was those streets?
There was a raising of the BNSF tracks between French and Weeks to allow for the upgrades of the flashing lights and gates.
And what was the other one?
And then we'll then come in once we've raised it to do the flashing lights and gates between French and Weeks. So we have to do a raising that would allow us to do the upgrades, and then we'll come in and do the actual upgrades.
And that was part of the original scope of work when we were looking at those fundings years ago,
right. And these projects are
on the books.
Right.
Right.
So and I mean, just to again reiterate, these projects then exceeded what the funding was, and so that's why we're using money out of our safety program to be able to finish and be good on our commitment.
Right, because I know lately on a parish level we had projects, it wasn't shovel-ready, they took the money back and we can't afford for that to happen to the city.
Right.
So we can't divert really with these funds afar. We need to continue the path of the scope that's been on the books now, correct?
Absolutely, yes sir.
Thank you.
Great. Chair?
Mr. Joshua, Mr. Lewis and myself border districts, and I just want to reiterate how important it is. I've seen children actually from the West End Park cutting through fields and grass, walk across the track just to get to St. Peter's actual library on that end, on the West End side. So the amount of dollars that's available for transportation, I guess you call it attractive program. Do you have an idea of what's available now as of this fiscal calendar year?
I don't have those numbers available to me. I think the first step is we would need to look at does that project fit within the scope of that program? That's the first program. That's the program that we do a lot of sidewalks.
So that takes a study.
It wouldn't take a study. It would just have to go back to our minister of that program, look at the requirements around that program, and see would that type of project fit in the confines of that program. Mm-hmm. And then I will tell you that program is not one of our most well-funded programs, so it does take some time to get your project up to the top of the queue, if you will. But that is our program that we do a lot of our sidewalks, crosswalks, and community-based solutions as it relates to mobility.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Let's see. Let's save you for last, Mr. Broussard.
I just have one question. I have one question because Ms. Ledbetter talked about the hospital. That is important that side can get across fast enough, because on this side you can hop over and just get a straight shot on St. Peter. You won't have anything to intercept you from getting there fast. But there are two streets in Mr. Lewis's district. It's there's one called Bruner, and there's one called Armand, and they're like little random streets off by Anderson. And I don't know if any of your decision has to do with the average daily travel rate, but I would assume that the average daily travel rate there compared to Caroline Street is probably an 80% difference.
Okay, you said Bruner, and then there's another one, Armand. They're right next to each other. You come off of Anderson, you can go like half a block to either one and go over the track. Okay. So,
maybe if y'all could look into that, that might be something.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my shortcut to beat the train that gets stuck on North Landry Drive.
All right, Mr. Broussard.
The people have to understand, and I was floored to understand this myself.
Yes, sir.
It takes a state about $200,000 I'm hearing to build each arms and lights. The state to pay the railroad and pay them for 10 years to maintain them. So the people have to understand it's their money putting these arms and lights up. That's why it was so important that $178,253.20 that we need. Every arm and light we can be put up.
Yes,
We
sir.
appreciate everything, but I want the people to understand it's their tax dollars putting these arms and lights up, not the railroad.
Yes, sir.
And Admiral Dawes, the state highway, we need some help for flooding. Not just railroad talk. We have a lot of flooding in Iberia. Our Hardee's,
Yes, sir.
2 and 3 foot of water. Drive a bus, you can only pass through it sometime.
Yes, sir.
So see what you can do with flooding.
Yes, sir.
too.
Well, we have an overall sense of urgency as it relates to drainage right now. Obviously, manpower affects how we move, but given the floods we had, we don't want to be caught in a situation where we had drains that weren't cleaned or at its top utilization. So we're moving, and I want to make sure that anybody that had a drainage issue specifically talk to Deidre or myself tonight before we get out of here to make sure that we are on top of that. And once again, we appreciate your advocacy, Mr. Broussard.
I have one more question. Is this considerable to where we actually have some type of maintenance program yearly with the DOTD where they come in and check our certain state highways? How does that work? Maybe Ms. Deidre or yourself can explain that. I'd like to see something like that instead of waiting to be proactive and not reactive to every problem that we have.
Well, our maintenance, I will tell you, it is proactive from a stance that we do cyclically look at all of our drainage. It's just a matter of manpower and I hate to say this, dollars, but it is an issue for us. But we have shifted a lot of our maintenance burden to drains and drainage and
so
making
there's
sure.
a set schedule program annually that you do.
We do have a schedule in the district and how our crews move around. We do have a schedule, and we can always be better in letting you all know when we will make our way around to your area. So if Deidre can help us work with that as well, we would be much appreciative. So,
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't thank you enough for coming. We don't want to wear you out in one night.
No.
This was a good discussion, and this is just truly government at work.
Yes,
so
sir.
thank you for coming. Please thank the secretary for us.
Will do.
And we look forward to working with y'all and seeing y'all again.
We'll be back sooner than later, sir.
All right. Thank y'all.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Item number 5, Madam Clerk.
Public hearing on budget amendment ordinance number 2016 to 2017-08, which notice was published on July 31st, 2017.
So moved. Motion to open by Mayor Pro Tem
Second.
Thaw, second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion? Do we have anyone here to speak on this? Hearing none. Ma'am? This is on this.
I'm not quite sure if I understood. It seems like it said Caroline Street quite often.
Yes, ma'am, but we're past that. This is a different item. This is a public hearing for an ordinance. But we all know your concern on Caroline Street, but that's not,
Yeah. Nothing's gonna happen on Caroline Street.
nothing's
at
gonna
this
happen
meeting.
until we have some public hearings, but this is on some other issues. But thank you. Do we have a discussion on this ordinance? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have a second? Close the public hearing. Second by Councilwoman Broussard. Now we'll move on to adopting the ordinance 5A.
Authorizing budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-08, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2016-2017, to amend budget to provide for additional payments for a CDBG wastewater project.
Do I have a motion? Motion by
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem, second. Somebody seconded. Who seconded?
Sherry
Councilwoman Gidget. These are the same ones that we had a discussion on at the last meeting, just to tell you. But is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, please vote your machines. Great, thank y'all. Madam Clerk?
Public hearing on budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-09, which notice was published on July 31st, 2017.
Motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Lopez and Councilwoman Ledbetter. Any public discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. I
Motion.
need a motion to adopt.
We gotta make a motion.
Need to close.
Oh, I'm sorry, motion to close.
Motion.
Second.
Great, motion by Councilwoman Lopez and Councilwoman Ledbetter. Please vote your machines.
Wait, let me
No,
read
we
it.
gotta
Wait a
read
minute,
read that.
wait a minute.
Okay.
I'm
You gotta
sorry.
do adopt the
okay.
ordinance.
This was
Read
the
the
hearing for the motion, now we adopting it,
sorry.
right?
Authorizing budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-09, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2016-2017, to provide for mid-year budget amendments.
Motion?
Motion,
Motion by
I second
Councilwoman Guidry and a second by Councilman Lewis.
or vice versa.
Please vote your machine.
We getting it right.
Yeah, thank y'all for correcting me. Item 5C, Madam Clerk.
Public hearing on budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-10, which notice was published on July 31st, 2017.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Lopez and a second by Councilman Broussard. Any discussion on this item? Hearing no discussion, motion to close public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Lopez. And I
Second.
need a second, Councilwoman Guidry. All right, Madam Clerk.
Authorizing budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-10, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2016-2017, to appropriate additional funds for Church Alley project construction and accept additional grant money for the project.
Motion.
Second.
Y'all are quick. Motion by Councilman Lewis and a second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Please vote your machine. Motion carries. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
The public hearing on ordinance number 2017-12 to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement and lease with the New Iberia Museum Foundation Incorporated will be held on August 15th, 2017.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Councilwoman Guidry.
Second.
Do I have a second? Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion on this item? Close the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Lopez, and I need a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Lewis, and no more action on this one until the next meeting.
Great.
Great. Madam Clerk, item 6, resolution.
Resolution in support of the U.S. Department of the Interior Fish and Wildlife Service Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program, Boating Infrastructure Grant Program Tier 1 Grant, Funding Opportunity Number F17AS00214 for City of New Iberia boat slips.
And what this is a project where the existing boardwalk is, which is about at the end of its useful life. It's about end of the grant cycle. We have been patching it to keep it going along. This is a grant that we heard of through the Wildlife and Fisheries. That would come down. This is on property that is owned by Edward Landry, same person who is donating the front area for the park. We'd work out an agreement to continue to use the area we're using where the boardwalk is. This would give us a bulkhead. This would give us a tiered area that we can maintain. This would give us a concrete sidewalk instead of a boardwalk so that we have no more maintenance of that area but still be able to utilize it. And while we were at it, it would give us 5 boat slips, which is part of the grant process, which would be some transient boat slips that could stay for up to 15 days. If you all remember, for many years we had boats along Bullion Plaza. We can't do that anymore. I tried to get a grant to improve that and found out that it's the navigable waterway set by the Corps of Engineers is 100 foot wide. We have exactly 100 foot wide. So when we went to go for a grant opportunity, they said we don't meet the criteria and those boats aren't supposed to be there. So looking for an area to enhance our town, to open up to the bayou, we realized we were wide enough there that we could actually accomplish this. So we're also in the future looking at doing something behind City Hall because we got a nice bulkhead and a lot of parking and another area where we could probably come up to 15 boat slips. So it's just a way to awaken to the bayou. It's a grant opportunity. So that's what we're asking for is as part of the grant, we need a resolution of support. So just so y'all know what we're fooling with. Do I have a motion? Okay.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem and a second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion on that? Yes, sir.
And it kind of ties into where Paul Allen has his
Correct.
dock, and he has some funding through some grants for the sewer part and the water. So it kind of ties everything together in that area.
It does, and actually he's going to donate, the lifespan of his grant is about up, and that pump station that boats would come to pump out and clean their tanks, as well as a restroom, is actually in the course of all of this going to get donated to the city, and it has a a very large value and very good use that would add to our little mini marina we're creating. Cool.
Thank you.
Sure. Further discussion.
So in other words, we'll be coming up
Councilman
with, say like utilities to provide for those boat slips and stuff like that. Is that something that we're gonna be talking about as far as charging boats to park there?
Yes.
It's kinda like what we
Yes.
talked about years back when you wanted to do it in
Correct.
front of
We're
buildings,
basically
so-
making a little marina, and we would use this grant money. Of course, there's some matching money we'll come up with in kinds where we can, but it would be a charge.
Okay.
Good. Further discussion? Yes.
I just want to say I'm really excited about it, and I saw something on my Facebook last night that got me even more excited. That pelicans on the bayou, which used to be when I was a child, and I know I'm the youngest, but it's okay. Dustin, no, I think Dustin beat me.
Yeah.
Dustin beat me. But it was tops, and it was so great to go there on a Sunday in a boat and have lunch, and it was just such a quaint thing to go do. And so I'm just so excited that somebody decided to invest and not let that restaurant go down, because it's such a great location with the patio, and I just think we have a lot to look forward to, and anybody who doesn't believe it needs to pay more attention then, because things are happening.
Yep.
And I think our bayou is one of our most precious things.
Great.
What area are we talking about?
This is where the boardwalk is, actually directly behind where we're gonna put Rodriguez Park, the empty lot where the Masonic Lodge building burnt. All by the museum and toward the bayou where the existing boardwalk is.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're talking about 160-foot length. So
Yes,
it's
we are.
going to be from, where Surratt Alley comes down, where the bayou is not cleared, all the way behind that empty lot and behind that Landry Martins building. So it's 160 feet. It's pretty big.
Yes.
Okay.
And,
And that's gonna be all cement as opposed to?
It will be, right,
wooden?
no more wood. I have patched that thing many times and have been involved with it from the beginning, and I loved it. It served its purpose. It's time for it to go.
I took a look at it the other day, and I had a chance to walk it, and it does need a few more little repairs. But my
Yeah.
question is, I saw you was talking about the sewer and the water line. How is that? That's just going to be donated to us as the city? Because I did see where there's the sewer line, the water lines, and where you
That little
can
floating,
dump your.
right.
Okay.
In other words, that little dock area,
Yeah.
it's a little floating, it's on
Floating
a
dock.
barge. That would end up being donated to us in the
Oh,
course
wow.
of this project or the one here.
Okay.
To where we could utilize that and actually be a real marina.
Okay.
Now,
Yes, sir.
I was kind of confused. Now, you mentioned pelicans. Did you say something about?
Yeah. Where Pelicans is in the
Yeah.
bayou by
Further down.
Front Street,
Uh-huh.
and I mean by Indes.
Yeah, I know where pelicans.
Yeah, so like you'll be able to go, and like the restaurant's gonna reopen, and you can pull up, go eat.
Different area.
It's a different
Yeah,
area.
that's
It's
what
not
I
the
thought.
same area, no.
But it's
just kinda
like within the.
all will be
with-
utilized by the body.
Yeah, it's all within like a 5-block area, so it's gonna make it more attractive to come because we're gonna have a restaurant on the water.
Well, if you look at kind of the Bayou Master Plan, Pelicans is just wonderful that they decided to invest and do that. So that area is private, but it will certainly spur activity. You come further down to the foot of the Iberia Street Bridge. Next year, we've been approved for the money, we get the kayak dock. You come across we already have the fishing pier. You come across the bayou, and behind this area we're talking about, we put some boat slips. Then if we're lucky enough to get the next grant, then we put some boat slips behind City Hall. Well, now we really have energized the bayou.
That's right.
So it all will work together and become, much more of a tourist attraction and much more of a people who are doing pleasure boating all down to Bayou Teche. It's just going to be another great amenity for our community.
That's all I want, to be able to get a
Yeah.
visual exactly
Right.
what it looked like, because I'm not really a water person. I can swim, but I don't want to boat. yet.
Great. Any further discussion? I'll ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you all for support. Madam Clerk, 6B.
Resolution accepting administrative change order number 1 for the Church Alley Park and Bike Trail project to adjust the contract amount.
This is a $750 change order because some lines we hit, you can't see under the ground. It's no fault of the contractor. It's not a big deal, but we're trying to keep our paperwork. So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Guidry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by a bunch of people.
Lopez.
Councilwoman Lopez. Do we have any discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote your machine. Oh, we have a
That was a
question.
line that was, they hit?
No,
or
they
was-
just discovered some drain lines were
Drains were
underground.
coming into each other?
Yeah, and as we saw them, we had to do something with them, so we had to relocate them.
Okay,
We didn't know they were there.
all right. Well, great discovery.
Well, it didn't break anything. Yeah, and it's only $750. Any further discussion? Please vote your machine.
Okay.
Thank you. Item 7.
Items for discussion, Natalie Lopez, discussion on ordinance and laws for dog protection.
No?
Okay. I'm trying not to get too crazy tonight with the ordinance, because I mean it's a long ordinance. We could go long if we get too intertwined. So I just kind of want to. I'm not here to start like a big ordeal about changing the ordinance tonight. But it was an opportune time for me to review this ordinance and speak to you about it because Miss Marty, who spoke earlier with Miss Jenny Lynn, they live in my district, a block away from my house, and I see her walking all the time, and she's just such an honest person that there's nothing about this story that is possibly fabricated. It is what happened, and it is a problem. And as a person who lives a block away from her with a 2-year-old, it really hits home for me. So, I printed the ordinance, and I mean it's in the packet.
Yes.
And I guess one of the things I thought about whenever this new group we were coming in is that it is time to, or it will be before probably the end of this term, that we're gonna have to really as a group look at the ordinance book because it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while.
We've already updated a couple.
Right.
We'll continue.
But one of my biggest things in not wanting to get the discussion too huge tonight is because I feel like a lot of what we're going to do with our ordinance is going to have to do with what happens with the police situation. In our ordinance book, almost everything says police department, which does not exist. So it's hard to say that the law is applicable when the entity that is supposed to enforce it listed in the ordinance does not exist.
But it might be bad.
Right. No, I mean, I feel like the language could be changed to be, police department and or contracting agency, because I just feel like it's loose because of our situation. So one of the things that Miss Marty expressed to me is that, they didn't treat this situation as important because it was a dog-on-dog bite and not a dog-on-human bite. But actually, in our city ordinance, dog-on-dog bites are protected. And some of that language will need to be inserted eventually. Now,
what article is that found in, Miss?
If you look
it's in your packet. It's chapter 14.
14.
If you look at
Animals.
14.4, 2 and 3.
2
we
and
talk
3.
about it, but only
Okay.
vaguely. But it does reference, domestic dogs as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. It's an 11-page chapter, so I mean, I'm not gonna. We're not gonna go
I just
too
wanted
deep
the
tonight.
exact
Hopefully.
section, dog on dog bite.
There is in there, however, that we are supposed to have a dangerous animal committee. That's 14.3. And it says that it's 3 persons recommended by the mayor, 1 person has to be a veterinarian, and it is ratified by the council. I've been here, this is my 5th year. I've never voted, I don't think, for a dangerous animal committee, but it doesn't say on here that their term ever expires. So I understand that there could be one
We do have.
that's been in effect, voted by a council way long time ago. Okay.
Doesn't mean-
It's been updated recently. It's the same people.
Yeah. it's the
Okay,
same
no,
people that
yeah,
have been
okay,
on
but
it.
that's fine. I'm not
Right.
fussing. I'm just saying it doesn't say that that committee has a term limit. So like I said, as far as I'm concerned, it could be somebody that was voted 20 years ago and they still on the committee, which is fine with me, you know. The other thing I think Miss Marty was frustrated with is that, you know, when they took the dog, they brought the dog to the dog pound that is run by the parish, and they operate under the state rabies laws. They're not operating under our ordinances. Number one, our ordinances aren't updated, and number two, they don't know them well enough. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that they haven't tried to, but it just seems that, you know, we're not following that protocol. And I'm not fussing at them or saying anything bad about them for not doing it. Sometimes you can't fuss at someone for something they don't even know. It's kind of the rule.
And it's one of the first times it's been dog attacking another dog.
Yeah.
So.
So I'm trying to what else I had that was really I wanted to touch on. Basically, you know, we need to go through these ordinances. Like I said, it's not going to be today. It's going to take a long time. Me and Mr. Swear have talked about it. And, you know, I think maybe we can all, you know, maybe possibly divide the book, like each as a council person, like focus on an area and then maybe have some brainstorm meetings. And, you know, we never did that the first time I was here. And it was something I wanted to do, but with administration going out, it really wasn't a highlight. But I think that, you know, to further protect people like Miss Marty, to further educate us, and to further protect our citizens, we all need to get way more informed as to what's in that book. And it's a real big book, so it's not going to happen overnight. But I want Miss Marty and the residents to understand that, you know, we care, and this is a new group. And I'm not saying anything bad about the old group, but it's time. It's been long enough that the ordinances, you know, haven't been reviewed, that it's time that we look at everything conceptually and make sure we're doing what we say we're doing in this book. And we're at a crossroads because we don't know what's going to happen at the end of the year. But I think once that happens, you know, it's going to be time to get the ball rolling so that, you know, people like her, when they call, they know. You know, they know, yes, there is a dangerous animal committee. Yes, the animal who bit you is dangerous. Yes, this is where the animal is going. This is who is on the committee. You know, and it's not neglect on our parts. It's just, it's a lot of information, and a lot of transition has happened in this city over the past 12 years. And I just want her to know that we care and that we're going to work hard to fix it. And, you know, and I don't want anyone to get bit, or any animal.
Jeff, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, you know, a lot of the issues have to do with enforcement more than with what we have in the book. Because if we enforce what's in the book, we'd be a lot better off than we are now. I mean, we have in the animal control, in this section 14.1 says, any police or law officer or the supervisor of the animal control operation is hereby given the authority to enforce any and all regulations of this chapter and issue notice of court citations and so on and so forth. So, you know, we already say if it's a police department or a sheriff's office, deputy, or any law enforcement can enforce this stuff. So, I mean, I think we have the potential there to do it.
In the introduction.
We do have a dangerous, we have a definition of a dangerous animal, and it does include an animal that bites, inflicts injury, assaults, or otherwise attacks a human being or domestic animal. So I think we need to communicate with the sheriff's office and see what we can do. And then as we enforce this ordinance, we're gonna figure out how to tune, how to get a better ordinance. And I always say, don't go invent something if you can steal it. So if some other community has a better ordinance than we do, we can enforce it. But I think a key to all of this is later on in the chapter, when it talks about dogs running loose.
Yes.
Now, as an
Leash
old
law.
guy who runs, I've probably been chased by dogs in every district of this city.
What about pigs?
I haven't been chased by a pig yet, but a lot of dogs over a lot of years. And if people understand they're not supposed to let the dogs run free, then I think we don't get to the dangerous animal situation. And there's no enforcement, or not much enforcement, of the leash law. And if you enforce the leash law, then you never get to the dangerous animal problem.
That's true.
And I think a lot of people in the morning, early in the morning, just let the dogs out. They let the dogs out, they bring the dogs back in. So if you're out there early in the morning, good chance you're gonna get chased. But I think if we deal with, ticket people for violating the leash law, you can solve a lot of problems. Because by the time you get to the dangerous animal ordinance or the dangerous dog ordinance, somebody's already been bitten.
Yeah, something's happened.
It's kind of too late. So start with the leash law.
Great.
I guess fortunately or unfortunately, I've been here through 3 administrations, and I was originally part of one of the council members about addressing the leash law. And when we had a police department, or when we didn't have a police department, we never addressed, or we got hundreds of ordinances like this on the books. Until something happens, that's when it comes to the table and we address it. My concern from day one, since 2 administrations again, is that we had no fines or big enough fines to catch the attention of the person owning it. I said it from day one and nothing changes. But if you hit them in a pocketbook, I don't care what, they will pay attention. And all the fines we have in all these ordinances, and you know the book, how thick it is. I mean, I don't care if you have a city police or a sheriff department or a contract, no one's gonna know all the ordinances. But one thing about it, if you get out and someone said, hey, and we're talking about dogs, my dog was out off the leash, I got fined $300. Let me tell you, it gets off quick that people take care of their dogs. So I think hitting them in the pocket is one thing we gotta look at. These $25 fines, these $50 fines, does not catch their attention. I'm just saying it has to be where, and Jeff made the mention about the fines. And I think addressing the ordinances when a situation comes out might not be the best way, but it's probably the only way we could do it for as many ordinances that we have on the books. And I think we need to. There's not, quite a few ordinances lately we changed.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
little,
And I wanna
because things do
We
change.
need to continue that.
We need to continue that, but I think we need to make sure the fines meets the crime, because I think that does catch attention to people, no different than speeding. You get a good speeding ticket, it's gonna catch your attention. I think we should do that not only with this ordinance, and we have some other ones that I think we can address also. Thank you.
Yes, no.
I wanted to add that I did talk to the city prosecutor, Miss Ann Stevens. There is an ongoing criminal matter, attached to this incident where a person has been charged with animals at large. And Miss Stevens did inform me that her and Captain Freeman have had multiple discussions, and that there will not be a confusion like this again if a dog bites another dog, because it is in the our code of ordinances. But if what our city attorney says is true, that he believes the agency is responsible, then Miss Marty, I think you need to read this a little deeper, because a dangerous animal is defined as someone who, what he said, it is defined, and if you want to keep it moving, you can, and you can call me outside this meeting.
Councilman Twitter.
I have a couple of comments.
Great.
The first comment I have, I want to say that I'm sorry that you had to go through this morning. one thing we talked about ordinances, and I brought it up already before, about enforcing ordinances. I'm not gonna sit here and say that the sheriff's department's not doing their job, or you know, talk bad about any of the deputies, in other words, but right now, when it comes to ordinances, we don't have the manpower to go out and enforce the ordinances that are, this book of ordinances that we have. And that's why we're out here promoting and educating the people of why we have ordinances and the importance of them, and why they need to be enforced. So, but I do have a question on we just went through an agreement with the parish on teaming up with them on doing the animal control.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. Are they going to be familiar with our ordinances that we have in place?
Well, it's going to be a cooperative endeavor agreement, so those ordinances will be in place, and you can bet after this incident, we're going to make sure they are.
We're going to make sure that they know
we will.
what we have.
And that's in negotiations now. At the last parish council meeting, they authorized the parish president and myself to go into negotiations. Since then, the sheriff generously gave me the dog catcher truck, which we now have in our possession. So that truck will be put up as part of the agreement, and our attorneys are beginning to work on going back and forth to hammer out an agreement. I spoke with the parish president yesterday. We still don't have a dollar amount. We're working on it, but that is something that is definitely in the works, and I know is needed. Before this incident, we've had other, need for a dog catcher. In the 7 months I've been here, we fielded quite a few calls. So we knew we had to do something. So this is, hopefully the first of many cooperative endeavor agreements on issues like this, but it's in the works.
Okay, she did mention when she was speaking that animal on animal or dog on dog situation, they was released within the next day. So it's in here saying that whoever the animal control officer or the pound should have.
It could have been held for 10 days.
It should have been
if you
the way
look
it's
at the
written in this book.
ordinance. Yes, yes.
So should we go to? I'm not going to name any names. The woman that handles the pound, but.
Well, immediately, I can just tell you, and I know we've had a lot of conversations, my staff immediately called our representative with the sheriff's department, and I know that happened, and we had a discussion about it, and we were assured by our liaison that it wouldn't happen. Since then, there's been more discussions and, going back and forth, but right from the beginning, we realized, we had something that all the parties need to be on the same page, and they weren't.
And I agree with Mr. Doyle.
Okay.
I agree with Mr. Doyle on, hitting the pocketbook. If you put, like you said, if you put $25 fine here, $25 fine there, they're just going to keep on doing it. Nothing's going to get done. Do we have a fine in place that we do fine them, or?
Jeff?
I can check. I think there's a general provision for violations of the code of ordinances. I think there's a standard fine. It's pretty heavy.
A couple years ago, just because
Jan?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Just because I like my work here with the public defender's office, I want to say a couple years ago with Judge Segura, the fine was around $265 is what Segura was implementing, and I know Judge Hike, stayed close to what Segura was doing, but with the increase in everything else, some of the fines have gone up. But I remember that's around where it was a couple years ago for a ticket for pleading guilty to animals at large.
Okay, great. Dustin, you
What
kind of
about
still had the
multiple
floor and we jumped all over the place. What you got?
I apologize. For multiple offenses. For instance, you got the first offense, and you just keep. Is there another provision in there that?
I don't know of
I
any
didn't see any.
habitual offender law for the dog or for the owner.
Okay.
We can look at that, but I think if you start handing out some tickets, you could change some attitudes.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Yes.
My last quick question was, y'all had mentioned about a 3-committee dangerous animal committee. Who are those persons? And she said that they were the same persons Miss Maxine did. So who are those persons?
I can get it for you.
We'll get it for you. I do not remember that. I mean, we have a bunch of committees. I can't tell you that. We made sure they were all updated, but I really can't spit out those names. I'll get it for you though.
I think
You have them?
I have
Okay.
because y'all sent them to me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I said, I don't remember.
It's the Dangerous Animal Committee.
Yes.
It's Dr. Christopher M. Dupuy, who's a veterinarian. Chris Dupuy, Sherian Lord, and Sonia Tozan.
Okay.
Sharon and
Those are the
Lord.
three that are
And
listed.
Sonia who?
Tozan.
Tozan.
Yeah. they're
Okay.
deep.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. And so they're just updated every year.
No, it's
They've
not
been
every
here
year.
for-
They've been here for a long time, and like
Right.
when Maxine came in, she realized we had a lot of boards and commissions, so
Mhm.
she took it upon herself early in her tenure and went through them and made sure that people were current.
Okay. So basically, they carry over every
Yeah.
administration is what I'm asking.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. No, I mean, if we wanted to update it, I'm sure we can, and with this activity, we probably should contact them all again and make sure that they want to continue to serve, but they did.
Okay.
I have a
Yes.
question. About this committee, since she had the incident, can that dog be referred to this committee to be deemed a dangerous dog?
Jeff?
Check to see if they have the rabies shot.
Yeah.
That's the law.
But we'll let the attorney answer that. I can answer. Yeah. They can. Yes. I know what she has.
Well, I guess whoever's enforcing the law, if it's the police department or sheriff's department, could receive a complaint that an animal is a dangerous animal. And then there's a process in the law for notifying the owner and having a hearing and all. You kind of put the dog on trial to see whether or not the dog is a dangerous animal.
While they impound it.
And then if you have if they decide that a dog is a dangerous animal, then it's illegal to keep the dangerous animal within the city limits, except if you follow what's in the ordinance as far as confinement, leashes, and things like that. So, you kind of label the dog as a criminal, and then you can't keep the criminal dog unless you follow certain processes. But it's a process that starts, I think, with a complaint to whoever's responsible for the. So, I guess the sheriff's office is doing that for us now, and then the dangerous animal committee would be the ones that would make that determination.
Okay.
I know the insurance companies, very bad on insuring houses with bad dogs, swimming pools without a fence. So they look at this real hard, so as you push and get these dogs labeled, it might get back to the insurance companies and their rates go up or they cancel them. They don't deal with them bad dogs. They don't want the lawsuit.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, can't thank you enough for bringing this forward. I can't thank you enough for coming tonight. I think that, I'm sorry what you had to go through, as we all are, but I really think that some good's gonna come out of it, and this kind of got us a little charged up to address this issue and go further with it. Oh.
I think that for 16 years being here, it's the first time I ever saw any dog in the council chamber.
I know, so.
It's all worked out.
Yeah, that's it. Great. Madam Clerk?
David Broussard, discussion on drainage and flooding.
Mr. Broussard.
I put that on because we had the state officials here. I had several people griping. Iberia Street, my whole 12 years, that same fella talking today.
Yeah.
What we gonna do? So I told them, we give them answers that the state trouble, have a dog. Until it drains, we don't drain. So there's several roads and street, and it's anywhere in the city. We depend on the state to get rid of our water. So, might be an impossible gesture, but that's why I put it on here for the people to come up and talk and vent it to the state, let them know we're having trouble. And that's where all our flooding starts, is State, Jefferson Terrace, Admiral, Center Street. We're having trouble. That's why I put it on.
Great. While it's on, do we have any other further discussion? Hearing none? Great, thank you, Mr. Broussard. That did spur some good discussion, and DOTD was here taking notes, so you got what you needed. All right, now we move on, Madam Clerk.
Council remarks.
I'm gonna start with the birthday boy. Councilman Tweed.
I appreciate that.
You
Thank you
will.
very much for starting on this thing. I don't have anything.
Oh, well, one time I start on you in.
I'm ready to go enjoy
Your birthday.
some birthday time.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. Thank you, though.
All right, great.
It's my turn?
Yes.
Well, we're going to start with the anniversary girl. 26-year anniversary. Happy anniversary, Joseph Guidry. And I just wanted to just remind everyone about the Project Crusaders event that's going on in the city park that I'm trying to partner with. It's going to be August the 12th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. We're asking all teenagers, really we were just asking any age, but mostly teenagers is what we're looking for, a concert, laser tag, and other things to take place, door prizes. And this is just another initiative for our teens of the city of New Iberia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I know I'm next.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you want me to do that?
It's the 17th?
It's going to be August the 17th.
Okay. Just a shout out to remind people in District 4 and anybody in the city of our neighborhood watch meeting on August the 17th at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Slyman. And at that meeting, we will have somebody from Louisiana Restore to explain the process of getting funding for individuals who had flood damage in August and our recent flooding too. So he's gonna have some information. A lot of the people didn't qualify. So this is another avenue. They're gonna do them again. So come by and see the process, get information about the process so you can get some reimbursement for the flooding. Anything else?
Also, too, if you come to that meeting, there will be counselors on hand to help you fill out this process from Baton Rouge. And you're welcome to check the list and see if your name's on it and see what they can do to help you.
Great. Thank y'all.
Okay. Yeah, let's remember in the next week to 2 weeks, school's gonna start. So have a little patience because school buses are gonna be on the street again. They're gonna be kids trying to get there, and it's always a concern of mine because sometimes we don't have patience, but we need to have patience because it's coming up and it's coming up soon. So just be careful and watch out for the kids because they'll be starting their school year pretty soon now. Thank you.
A couple of weeks ago, we lost a DOTD worker in Iberia Parish. We also lost a couple of years ago 2 parish workers on a service road. Let's be careful around all our construction people, please. They're working like we do. There's no reason why we can't be considerate. So this is a little thought I had for some people. We don't like losing people in Iberia Parish.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council. This weekend, well, first of all, I want to welcome the kids back to school. Again, I'm a ditto on what Mayor Pro Tem Dan Dahl said about, being mindful that those kids going back to school, there'll be some walking, buses moving around, but also over at my barbershop, 734 Lombard, Marlins Barbershop, on Sunday from 12 to 4, we're doing our 12th annual Cuts for Kids, which we give haircuts to underprivileged kids. We're partnering with Omega Sci-Fi. We also have 4 barbershops helping out. One is No Limit Hair Design and Barbershop, Cutting Times Barbershop, Twins Barber and Beauty Salon, as well as myself. And again, we're going after the Cuts for Kids. We're going to do a prayer walk immediately after that, just to kind of keep some energy, positive energy generated in the community concerning some of the violence we are still dealing with. So again, that's this Sunday, August the 6th, from 12 to 4 at Marlowe's Barbershop, 734 Lombard. And I want to thank the city for helping out as well with barricades and tents to make that event safe.
Great.
District 1 is not going to have a neighborhood watch meeting in August, and I'm pretty sure it's because school is going to be starting, and Dasp Elementary has a lot going on. I know we talked about school safety. I'm going to talk about the number one thing I get every year is, and being a mom, parents, please obey the car line. Please obey the car line. Please obey the way the schools are asking you to travel to get your kids to and from school, because there is a reason the sheriff's department has helped them design these routes. So just please participate every year. It's a big mess for me right when school starts. So, you know, and that goes for every school. You know, it's important. And I want to say happy birthday to our youngest council member. I really don't think it hit me until today that I had graduated from that. So.
Thank you. I just have a few. I'm getting a lot of calls. The parish has decided to do something different with their recycling, but the city hasn't. We are still recycling because we have had quite a few calls because the parish is changing what they're doing. Our recycling program stays exactly like it is. So I just wanted to get that out there. Our next meeting is August the 15th. We still have properties for sale on civicsource.com. That's our adjudicated property. And I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilmember Swear, second by Councilmember Broussard. Thank you all very much.